It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media. So look, the Lakers over the last month and a half has said all that's needed to be said, which was when they decided to trade for Luka and this unexpected opportunity that they received from the Dallas Mavericks. They pivoted midstream, and this is something that's being ignored quite a bit because people's obsession with LeBron James, so on and so forth. So the Lakers were going to make sure that they had this gift in being able to trade for Doncic fall in their lap. And they weren't going to mess it up, especially with something that fans frequently ignore, which is they have to re-sign him. And the Lakers' direction has been very, very clear, which says we're giving the keys to Luka right now. Before he signed the extension, before LeBron James' final year is up, we're giving it to him now. And if LeBron gets upset that we're giving it to him on his watch, so be it. And that's been made clear. Now, from a LeBron perspective, again, because this was so unexpected, I'm sure he didn't see it coming. I'm sure the Lakers didn't see it coming. And how they communicated with him and what role he played in the organization was completely different. And then all of a sudden, it changed. There wasn't a conversation. There wasn't a transition. There wasn't any of those things. It changed. So, in this sense, I understand both sides' perspective. I understand why the Lakers are acting in the way that they're acting, because the first thing I need to do is solidify that, Doncic isn't going to play the market. I don't think he is. No one anticipates that he is, but I have to solidify that because wacky things happen in this league. So if this is the way for me to solidify it, to say, hey, Luka, this is what you want, then I'm going to do that. From LeBron, I can understand if one day I change, one day I wake up and, my girlfriend is talking about someone, that's new at work. I would be shocked. My only caution is in today's NBA, you cannot build a team around a player like this is the Iverson years in Philadelphia. And I bring that up because, and if you follow any of my content, I said this when the trade was made. What makes you think that Rob Pelinka can build a championship winner in LA with Doncic before Nico Harrison can in Dallas? So many people were willing to make that assumption. I'm not. I've said it again, time and time again for the last 3 years. This league is becoming a sum of parts league. And then the new CBA reinforces that. It is a sum of parts league with the talent that's in the league and the restrictive nature of the CBA. So I understand what everyone's doing. Now the real work begins for the Lakers. If they're indeed going to say, we are going to build everything around Luka, it's going to be Luka, whatever Luka wants, Luka gets. That's fine. I understand that. But in the league under current CBA, it's harder to do that because the restrictive nature of adding payroll, adding players. 2, that means the front office have to identify the correct players to go with him. It's easy to say, oh, give me a 3D guy. Give me this guy. Give me this guy. How long have I heard the Lakers, they need a true rim protector. You don't think the Lakers don't know that? They know that. Saying it and getting it is two different things, especially under the restrictive nature of the collective bargaining agreement. That's why teams are trying to collect talent. It's why Indiana, probably in another era in the NBA, does not have the success that they had this season. Because the NBA is going to a point where in order to win a title, you don't need a superstar. You need a very good player. You need a Tyrese Halliburton. You need an SGA. You need a Jalen Brunson. Under the NBA I grew up with, those guys aren't superstars. They're very good players. Those guys aren't superstars. Not the way that the superstars were defined in that era. And so just saying I won a title and this was the best player, this makes him a superstar, is asinine, which I see way too much of that. Can you do it that way that it looks like the Lakers are trying to do it in this era of the NBA? And the answer is time will tell. But I can tell you this, if they're not going to collect parts, and their big thing is on in 27, if we can just get a second superstar with Luka, that is thinking that we have to see if it's going to work in the current NBA environment. Don't tell me what happened 20 years ago. Don't tell me what happened 30 years ago. It's not the same league. Can you do that even with a second superstar? Can you do that? Because we are seeing more and more sum of parts teams win. And didn't start with Oklahoma City. You could make an argument that the Phoenix-Milwaukee series was nothing but sum of parts teams. You know, that's why Drew Holiday was so important. That's why. And then you have to have those buy-ins. Can you get buy-ins from younger players? Ask the Warriors in their dual path and how that worked out for them. Newsflash, it didn't. And that's why they've abandoned this whole dual track thing, because they couldn't get the younger players to buy into it. It's not a video game. You got to get people to buy into these things. So that is the next challenge for the Lakers once LeBron leaves. None of this now. We can cease talking about this being about LeBron, because none of the Lakers' success going forward is dependent on LeBron. They have ensured in LA that it's not going to be dependent on LeBron. So that should make a lot of you guys happy. Now it's on Luka. Can't keep blaming LeBron. You can't keep saying LeBron. Now it's on Luka, and now it's on Rob Pelinka. And again, if you ask me whether I would rather have the Lakers with Luka, LeBron on an expiring, and that roster, or Dallas with AD, Cooper Flag, a Kyrie you're not going to get back until late in the season, and additional parts that I can add in the offseason, after this season going forward, it's hard. It is tough not to argue that I would rather have Dallas, because I have a young stud in Cooper Flag, or a potential stud in Cooper Flag. I have AD. I have, in theory, by then, Kyrie that should be on his way to being 100%. I have veteran role players wanting to play a role. I have a young, true rim protector in Derek Lively. It's just so many things for a league going to the sum of parts that I could maneuver with than having a superstar and saying, okay, I have this much room because I'm building everything around that one person in a league whose collective bargaining agreement is built to make that as hard as it possibly can be. Doesn't mean it can't be done. Doesn't mean the Lakers can't do it. Doesn't mean that Pelinka or whomever can't build a championship there. I just don't feel like Rob Pelinka's the right guy to do that. Maybe you can find someone more creative to do it. I don't know. So I don't want to hear about superstars, big threes, big twos. None of that stuff matters anymore, guys. None of it matters. And then people try to manufacture, oh, well, they're a big three. Why? Because those are the three guys who average the most points on the team. That's not a big three. That's just three guys who average the most on the team. That's why it didn't work in Phoenix, because the pieces didn't fit. Not because those guys were bad or they did something wrong. You knew what you were getting out of Bradley Beal. You knew what you were getting out of Devin Booker, you knew what you were getting out of KD. And for all the talk about the Lakers and Dallas I've done, look at the Clippers. Look at the Clippers. Over the next 2 to 3 years, are the Clippers out of those three teams built the best to make a run to the title? And I am a firm believer that you have to put Denver back into the conversation with what they did. We haven't even talked about the East. The only thing we talked about is the West. We haven't even talked about the East at all. So, I mean, again, with this whole thing and with LeBron, who knows where LeBron ends up after this season? Who knows if he's going to retire or not? Does he take a vet minimum deal after this season and go to Dallas for one last hurrah with Kyrie and AD, two of his favorite players that he played with? Who knows? But again, I raised the question, man. I don't know why everyone thought automatically that the Lakers were in a better position to win a title than the Mavericks simply because they traded Luka Doncic. And I'm just not willing to give Pelinka that benefit of the doubt. It's Mark Swartz, MTCV.